Hi everyone, Peter here from Flow High Performance, and in this presentation we're going to be continuing our video series on the 4 pillars of strength and conditioning training, and this one is going to be on endurance. So just to remind ourselves, we have our 4 pillars of strength and conditioning training which uphold physical performance. So these pillars are speed, power, strength, and endurance, and we're going to focus on endurance training in this presentation. And just to reiterate this point, most athletes will probably need some form of each of these components in their training in order to be at their physical peak. So with endurance training, we basically have 2 main forms of endurance training that we can do. The first is continuous endurance training, and the second is intermittent endurance training. So continuous endurance training is essentially just when we're doing continuous work at a given intensity. And that intensity is going to be dependent on the event or the thing that we're training for. So for events such as 400 meters, 800 meters, all the way up to the marathon, they are basically using continuous endurance at various intensities. Continuous endurance can also be beneficial for athletes in intermittent sports to build an aerobic base. Intermittent endurance is usually used by athletes in a team sport. So when we do intermittent endurance training, it's when we have a work period and that's followed by a recovery or a rest period. So this recovery or rest period can be either passive rest or it can be very low intensity work. Whereas this work period is usually going to be of much higher intensity, and that's where we're actually going to get the conditioning effect. So we then have the work to rest ratio, which is essentially how long we're working for versus how long we're recovering or resting for. And that ratio should be specific to the sport. So for example, in a sport where we have really long rest periods and only very short intense bouts of work, we want to replicate that in our training. So we'll do very high intensity short periods of work with very low intensity or passive recovery for longer periods of time. The other interesting thing that we can do with intermittent endurance training is that we can use multi-directional movements. So we don't have to do straight line running or cycling or rowing. We can do running in various directions in order to further replicate sport-specific endurance training. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you got something out of this video. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already.